People tend to make much more progress on their goals and dreams when they think that somebody else cares. It's not about someone breathing down their neck. It's just somebody else cares, and they're going to want to hear how things are going. Once people start, it's like the hardest step to take is the first step.
You're listening to Titans of the Trades. I'm your host, Ryan Englin, author of Hire Better People Faster and creator of the CoreFit hiring system, a proven process to help growing companies attract and retain only the best. I'm on a mission to revolutionize the perception of the trades and elevate it to new heights. After growing up in a blue-collar family, my passion for making the trades cool again runs deep. If you're a titan in the industry and want to be on my show, stick around until the end and I'll reveal how you can be my next guest. I'm your host, Ryan Englin. Welcome back to another episode, Titans of the Trades. Today's guest I've known for about 6 months, and he has a role that I learned about years ago, and I've never actually met one. I thought they were unicorns for the longest time. It was mentioned in a book, and that was it. Collin Jewett is the dream manager for the Annex Group. And if you don't know what the dream manager is, go check out Matthew Kelly's book. It's a real quick read. It's a great read. It'll really get you thinking about what you can do as a company to support your people and help them accomplish their dreams. In today's interview, I sit down with Collin and we talk through what the Annex Group is up to, how he got started, and what he has learned. He even gives a couple of tips on how you can implement this role inside of your organization as well. So I want to welcome to today's show, Collin Jewett, the dream manager of the Annex Group. Collin, welcome to the show.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it.
You know, we scheduled this like 6 months ago, and I'm so excited for today's conversation because it's one of those areas that I geek out about when it comes to your employees and really giving them an opportunity to pursue their personal goals inside of business. And so what I'd love for you to do, just real quick, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to at the Annex Group and this whole dream manager thing.
Sure. Happy to. So like you said, I'm the dream manager for the Annex Group. The Annex Group is an affordable housing development, construction, and property management company. But I don't do any of those things. I don't do property management, construction, or development. Though if you hear any background noises, we're like working in a construction site right now. But what I do is I work with the staff at the Annex Group, and I also work to help and advise on building programs for residents. And all of those programs, the Dream Manager program and the resident programs, are all focused on helping people to make their lives feel more fulfilling, to pursue their personal goals and dreams, and to take the next step up in terms of their health and their productivity and their well-being in their life.
Wow. So there's a lot to unpack there. But before we unpack that, tell me what motivated you to get into this? Like, why be a dream manager? Why help people with these things?
Yeah. So I've been in the coaching space for a while. I started out as a manufacturing engineer. I was working on improving efficiency for systems, things like that. And that was good work. It was enjoyable work. But one of the things I really didn't like about working as a manufacturing engineer was a big part of my job was replacing people with machines and robots. And of course, that work moves somewhere else and it creates new opportunities. But, to me, I wanted to focus, instead of focusing on how to create more products or pump more products out into the marketplace faster, which is a totally, a great thing. I'm glad some people do that, of course. But I wanted to focus on, well, how can I make the lives of the people who are doing the jobs better? Because a company's greatest asset it's not its machines, it's not its intellectual property, even it's its people. And business exists for people. People don't exist for business. And that's something that before I even heard it articulated, Matthew Kelly says that sort of thing all the time. Before I heard it articulated, I felt it. And I found that where I was having the most enjoyment and fulfillment in my work was when I was talking to people about how to make their experience at work better, how to improve their productivity, not by counting the amount of production they could do, but in terms of their quality of their life and how much they enjoy their work, because people do better work when they love their work.
Yeah. I think too, they love their work when their work fulfills their personal goals, when it helps them achieve the things they want personally.
Yeah,
I
as long
love
as
what
they see a link between the two, because you can definitely say, well, your paycheck supports your personal dreams and goals, and that's probably true. But if people don't see that the work that they're doing every day has some meaningful impact in the world that they care about, then it's replaceable with any other job. There's nothing special about
yeah,
that job, that role. They don't see it as a career, they just see it as a paycheck. And
yeah.
people never do their best work when they're just working for a paycheck. So to kind of go back and answer your question, that's where it started for me. I moved into learning and memory coaching, which I had some experience with. And then that kind of slowly transitioned me more and more to working with people within the workplace on how to make their jobs not just a job, but something that's really meaningful in their life that they care to do.
I think that mindset that you just talked about was where people or leadership says, oh, well, their paycheck supports their personal life. That's all we need to do. Uh, it's funny. I'll walk into a room with 100 people and 100 business owners and say, how many of you believe that people don't leave jobs, they leave people? And every hand goes up. And I was like, so it's about more than just the paycheck.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about. And for those of you that don't know, Collin already mentioned Matthew Kelly. He wrote the book called Dream Manager, and it's a fantastic business fable. And I love that he picked a blue collar company for the example in the book, because it would have been really easy for him to do this with a software company, but he
Sure.
didn't. He picked janitorial company, and like it just changed the whole message. So you're doing this dream manager work to help people find that personal fulfillment and achieve their personal goals. Give us some examples of what you guys are up to over there at the Annex Group. Like, how does this thing actually work? Because it sounds great. How
Yeah.
does it actually work?
Yeah. So I can get into some of the nuts and bolts. For the past year, I spent time just getting to know the people at the company who was here. I really didn't want to create some sort of program that sounded really good on paper but didn't have any impact.
Yeah.
It wasn't a PR stunt. I really wanted to put something together that would help the people here. And so I spent the last year really just getting to know people. And then we launched the program in January. I don't know exactly when this episode's going to come out, but anyway, the program's been running for a few months now. And the way that we run it is I personally run group sessions each month. And then I also do one-on-one check-ins every month, and those are not like job performance reviews. I have nothing to do with their like what they're supposed to be doing in their job or anything like that. I don't write job descriptions or do performance reviews. What I'm doing is I'm just asking questions. So some examples of questions that I might ask would be, what's one thing you might do in the next week or month to improve in this category? And that category might be health, if that's something that's important to them, which I think that's important for just about everybody, right? It
Yeah.
could be health, it could be personal finances, it could be their relationships with family or friends, it could be their personal time, getting quietude and space, could be spiritual disciplines. It could really be anything across the board, whatever matters to them. They're the ones who bring those things up. And then all I'm doing is asking questions that encourage introspection, resourcefulness, and that present and future orientation so that people are actively taking steps. And then the next part would be the accountability. People tend to make much more progress on their goals and dreams when they think that somebody else cares. It's not about someone breathing down their neck. It's just somebody else cares and they're going to want to hear how things are going. And so I've had several people who I talk to and they're like, man, I kind of forgot about this. But then I was skimming through my calendar to schedule something else and I saw our meeting coming up. And I was like, shoot, what did I say I was going to do again? And then they get into it and then they make a lot more progress than they even intended to or wrote down. Because once people start, it's like the hardest step to take is the first step. Once you take the first step, things start to snowball. And so if you can just help people to take one step, you're probably helping them to create momentum in their life in whatever area it is that they want to improve.
I think it's interesting the way you broke that apart in that you're talking about the things that are important to them versus their job performance, versus their communication style, versus all of the things that usually people in the company are talking to employees
Hmm.
about. You're like, I have nothing to do with that. And
Yeah.
I could see some people listening like, well, I care about my people when I'm reprimanding them for not performing, right? Like that mix has got to be a real challenge. But I love that that's just your role. I know you've only been doing this for a little while, but do you have any advice for people that maybe have a smaller company or don't have the opportunity to put a dream manager in place? Like, what's something that they could do to maybe get started on this idea of pouring into their people, personally caring, genuinely caring, and creating some accountability?
Yeah, I think you can do this at any scale. What I would encourage is starting to create space for non-work conversations within the workplace.
Mhm.
And this is one where, I think a lot of people kind of avoid this because they're worried about it, getting into gray areas, or they don't want there to be like conflicts within the workplace. So it's like, let's keep everything super professional. Let's not talk about our personal lives. We don't want to bring that to work. It's kind of like leave that at the door. And that makes sense in theory, but that's not how life works. Like, you
Mhm.
don't walk into the office and all of a sudden everything that you were dealing with before just goes on pause, and then you get to click resume when you get home and start where you left off. It's like things are happening during the day. People are getting serious calls that they take during the workday because somebody's in the hospital, something's happened. Like, that stuff doesn't just go away.
Yeah.
And that's like the dark side of it a little bit, but there's also the positive side. It's like your dreams don't just go away when you enter the workplace. It's like they're still there. They're probably in the back of your mind. It's like, instead of trying to pretend like those things don't exist or suppressing them, like encouraging people to talk, not to go to therapy with their coworkers per se. It's like I tell people all the time, I'm not a therapist, right? Like, I'm not here to talk to you about your past or traumas or things like that. But I do create space for people to be real. Like,
Mhm.
how are you feeling today? And that's not like the how you're doing as you walk past someone in the hallway without expecting an answer. It's like actually asking, like, how genuinely, how are you feeling today?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And
creating
slowing
space for
down
people
and
to answer that truthfully.
Yeah, slowing down and making space for that, I think, is really
Yeah.
critical. Yeah, I was just gonna say, this isn't an Apple TV show where people can just flick a switch, and they walk to work or they get home, and it's just different. And we see that a lot in the work we do, especially in the construction space. I hear a lot of supervisors be like, "Oh, they need to check their drama at the door." And I'm like, "Yeah, but you hired a human being that doesn't have that switch to flip." And I love what you said. Phone calls come in during the day and they're dealing with stuff that is really timely and important. And it's a huge distraction sometimes for people. Uh, I mean, it's so important for, I think, leaders, especially in this modern workforce, to recognize that what you said earlier, business exists to support people. People don't exist to support the business.
Right.
And I hear them say it all the time. Our people are our most valuable asset. But they don't treat them
Mhm.
that way.
Yeah,
So
Matthew
what are,
Kelly has he loves to say that, like, one of the greatest errors that we make in accounting is putting people in the liabilities column, which I'm not an accountant. I don't even know how that works, but if
yeah.
that's true, it's like I understand how that might work on the economic side, but it should not be
Yeah.
treated that way, right? Your people are not liabilities; they're assets, and if you're not getting a return on the investment in your people, it's probably something like it's probably you problem. like,
Yeah.
like, you're probably not really investing in your people. You're trying to invest in like this abstract idea of your business without having to get into personal things. But again, that's just not how life works. If you want that, then buy another machine. Don't hire another person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so true. So I know you said the program just launched a couple months ago. Been working on it for a while. I know you're incredibly passionate about this, but you'd mentioned when we were talking earlier about some data, some
Mhm.
metrics. What indicators can people use to determine if this is effective, if it's working? Because I
Yeah,
imagine it takes some time.
sure. There's just some really simple stuff like you can quantify just about anything. So, for example, like in Matthew Kelly's book and in his programs, he likes to split things into four simple categories of there's the physical, there's intellectual, there's spiritual, and there's like emotional slash relational. And you don't have to use those. You can just swap those out with whatever makes sense. I frequently have people who say like, yeah, spiritual isn't like that language doesn't really work for me. Can we switch that to something else? Like, yeah, sure. Your values, your character, your vision for your legacy, whatever, mental health, whatever. So you can swap out those categories, but just having people do a simple rating of like, where are you at, 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or green, yellow, red, whatever, however you want to do it, a qualitative metric, but you can track those over time and you
Mm.
can see, okay, well, hey, last month you were a 3 in this category and this month you're a 6. Something seems like something's working. Is that true? And they could share like, hey, yeah, this thing was happening last month and it changed. And sometimes it's purely situational. And being able to track that is kind of cool. You can see how situations affect people and increase their awareness. But a lot of times, what it is something that they decided to do the previous month contributed to their improvement.
Mm.
And so you can say, okay, well, last month you were a 3 in the health category. We just brainstormed some ideas. You thought that, maybe if you started going to some classes at the local YMCA, or maybe you meal planned for at least, you know, your lunches during the week, or ate out a little bit less, or whatever. They picked some ideas to roll with. It's like, did you do any of those things, or did you come up with something else? And they'll say, yeah, actually, I did this. I didn't even realize it was going to go from a 3 to a 6 in 1 month from doing that. But hey, I guess it worked. Yeah, and so many
I
people are
love that.
blind to the degree to which their own behaviors influence their well-being in different areas until you put some sort of like longitudinal quantification of some big words to it, right? I was saying
Yeah.
oh, we've actually tracked this over time. What you did actually worked, and that is so empowering because then later, if they see that category drop, it's like, well, hey, did you stop doing this? Or could you do what you did last time? Would that work again? And it starts to give them some self confidence that they actually have the skills to make improvements in their lives rather than the things just kind of happening to them or being random.
That's so great. I have this question. So the Annex Group, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
they've got this mission to create this positive impact, which it sounds like you're doing at a very personal level, which I love, the individual. Um, do you have any idea, like, what was the catalyst for them making this decision to say, you know what? We need a guy like Collin to come do this thing because it's so important to impact our people's lives. Like,
Sure.
how did that start?
Yeah. I mean, I give all the credit props to our leadership team. I think it's really hard to change the culture of an organization from the bottom up. Like, I'd like for that to happen. I'd like for that to be possible, but just the way that it works when someone's cutting the paycheck, there's like some built-in power dynamics and things like that that are hard to get around. And so if the leadership team isn't on board, if they're not the ones kind of preaching this stuff, it's unlikely that it's going to happen effectively. And so, yeah, having a leadership team that's cohesive, that where they share those values and they say like, we want to do this and we're willing to put some money into it. We're willing to make an investment to improve the lives of our people, I think is key. I think if the leadership team is divided on that, they don't have a shared mission, vision, and values, good luck. It's probably not
Yeah.
going to happen. So, yeah, it was a top down thing. And we are blessed with a very visionary leadership team that sincerely cares about people.
How many employees do they have over at the Annex Group?
Right now, we're sitting around 130, but it has been increasing pretty dramatically over the past few years. So, I'm guessing if you ask me that question
Oh,
again in a year, it'll probably be 200 plus.
affordable housing is very important to a lot of communities right now, so I
It
get it.
is.
How do you manage that? I mean, are there other dream managers? Do you have a team? Is it just you?
Currently, no. There's a plan to keep expanding this, though.
Okay.
There's like we have a vision to keep expanding it to like family members and things like that. Obviously, that's a really big undertaking, and
Sure.
we don't have that all fleshed out or figured out or anything at this point. But the vision is to keep expanding the team. The way that we managed that at first was we made it an application process, and we did set a cap on the first cohort, so it was limited to 30 people. We had more applications than that, but that was part of the experiment, right? Like, how many people see the value of this right away and want to jump in? It's a significant commitment. The way that we do it is a 10-month program where people are expected to engage for that whole 10 months. So that by itself is a lot, right?
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, we capped it at 30, but then we're just going to keep opening up more cohorts. And as there's more demand, we will do our best to increase the supply.
I was going to ask that question. Like, how does one person, you, handle relationships with 130 people, but you capped it at 30? So that answered my
Well,
question.
I interact with everybody at the company. Like anytime we have new hires, like I try to interact with them within the first month. Can get sometimes we have a flood and it's just pretty difficult to handle as
Yeah.
one person. But I try to interact with everybody. But the 30 people, those are the people I'm engaging with the most on a day to day basis.
So this is a process question for you. I was just thinking about.
Okay.
So you've got 30 people in your cohort. They've all got different goals. They've all got different things they're working on, different stages. How do you, how does Collin manage all of that? Like, do you have a system you use, software, spreadsheets? Like, how do you technically do all that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started out my career as an engineer, so I tend to like default to that sort of training. So like I have my own spreadsheets and things like that that I use to track where everybody's at. So each time I meet with somebody, I'll pull up their individual sheet and it has like line items for the different categories, the different dreams. I do progress bars and rating systems and all sorts of notes, all sorts of stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's not really about me. I do all of that stuff because it's supportive of the people, but I'm not the one coming up with solutions to their problems or the path to how to achieve their dreams. I'm not doing any of those things. I'm almost exclusively just asking questions and creating space, and that's it. Every once in a while, I'll give a suggestion if somebody asks for it, but I try to avoid that because my suggestion is never going to be as good as the one that they'll come up with if they think about
Someone told me once, people don't like your ideas nearly as much as they like their own.
it.
So I totally get it.
True.
Just wondering how you keep all that managed. Like, I show up and you're like, I don't remember, what were we talking about? You at least have a little bit of a process for that. So
Yes.
as as listeners are thinking about this, they're like, this sounds really cool.
Mhm.
I know some CEOs personally, like, I'll be the dream manager and the CEO and all the other hats that I'm wearing. And I imagine that's a little too much. Uh, what advice would you have for someone who's thinking about this? Like, pretend you were at that leadership table, however many years ago, when the Annex Group said, hey, we need to do this. What advice
Yeah.
would you have for any businesses thinking about it?
Yeah. Well, this situation kind of comes up in the Dream Manager book. They're kind of running through the question of like who should do this, and in the book that they end up deciding to hire somebody from the outside
Mm-hmm.
rather than someone from the leadership team doing it or a staff member doing it. I think that's probably a good move if you want to start. If you can hire somebody who's completely fresh um, to come into this, so they don't have whatever other departmental biases or baggage or anything like that from the company. They're just
That's good advice right there. Yeah.
going in fresh, and people
I
are
like that.
generally intimidated to talk to people on the leadership team and human resources. That's just how it is most of the time. And so if you're saying like, "Hey, I'm your boss, but like I'm also going to be your dream manager. Tell me about what's going on in your life and how I can help you." Um, that would be great. And if you can cultivate that sort of relationship, that's amazing. I think it's less likely to be effective than bringing in somebody else who's separated from all that. So my advice would be try to bring in somebody else. And if that's not realistic, then what I'd recommend is putting together probably a really like simple curriculum on your own that's just like some questions to discuss, and then creating a group space for that meets regularly. Just like, hey, we're just going to share what's going on and how we're making progress, and just keep it super low stress. Don't make it mandatory, and work with the willing. If you've only got 3 people who are interested in that, cool, start there. And if they have a great experience, it's much more likely to snowball than if you try to force it on 50 people and nobody knows what it is, understands it, or wants to do it. And it's just going to be a weird failed experiment.
I do like that idea of taking it slow and finding the people that are really bought in and starting with that small group. And then once they get results, I remember that from the book, like once a few had results, it just kind of spearheaded into everything and it really took off from there. Uh, Last question for you. As a dream manager yourself, what, how has this role influenced your own personal and professional growth? As you don't have a dream manager to help you with your stuff, like how has this role really helped you out?
Yeah, it's funny that you say that. I kind of do. not necessarily within the Annex Group. Like I have a lot of my own mentors outside that help me to grow myself. But the role has been life-changing in a lot of really positive ways. I was already doing coaching before this, but I was doing it as self-employed as an entrepreneur. And so there were strings attached that just had to be. Like I had to put food on the table. I had to keep up my clientele. I had to make sales. I had to do the marketing. I had to do all those things. Being in a role where I'm kind of detached from that, and it's like my only job is to be there for the people of this company and listen and ask questions and help them to pursue their goals and dreams. I don't have to think about, filling a pipeline with leads or anything like that for myself. It's been really fascinating because I can be present with people in a way that I was never able to be present, professionally before. And I think that's one of the problems in most organizations is everybody has to think in a financial way, regardless of what role they're in. It's just kind of always there in the background. Having even just one person in your company that doesn't have to think that way and can just be present for the people, I think can change the dynamics of the whole company. It creates a space that doesn't exist in most places. And so I've gotten to enjoy it from my side, but I think it's shifted the culture here just for that to exist.
I I absolutely believe that it has and that it can and it will continue to shift as it grows and you get new cohorts and new people in and everything else. Collin, this has been so great. I am so excited to finally meet a real life dream manager because I read this book and I'm like, they have to be out there. But I don't see a lot of companies, like they love the idea, but I don't ever see them really execute on it the way that you guys have at the Annex Group. So fantastic. Hey, if people want to learn more about what you're up to, whether it's the Annex Group or you personally, how can they connect with you?
Yeah, they're welcome to find me on LinkedIn, Collin Jewett. I'm guessing my name will be on the episode or something like that so they can see
Yeah.
how it's spelled. It's not too hard. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn, I'm not on there super often, but if you send me a message, I will respond. So if you're interested in implementing the Dream Manager program at your company, I'm not selling anything. I'm not a consultant for anything, but I could give you some tips, some ideas, and direction to point you. I'd be happy to do that.
Oh, what an amazing offer. Thank you so much, Collin. You've been amazing. My brain is just processing all this information. I'm so excited for what you're up to, what the Annex Group is up to. It's amazing stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan.
Ryan Englin here. Thank you so much for listening to Titans of the Trades. If you're a titan in the construction, manufacturing, or skilled trades industry and would like to be a guest on my show, please visit podcast.corematters.com. If you found value in this interview, would you share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot on your phone and share it with a friend or post it on social. And if you know someone that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Titans of the Trades. I love seeing your posts and guest suggestions. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, click the subscribe button. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show and get me one step closer to solving the labor crisis facing the industry. Want to know more about how we're doing that? Go to our website or follow me on LinkedIn. Thanks for listening.